Are you all turning into the Johnny Depp vs. Amber Heard defamation trial? If you are, then you know just how intense it is. If you aren't, well, Johnny Depp sued his ex-wife Amber Heard in March of 2019 after her 2018 article for the Washington Post titled "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." In the piece, she refers to herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Depp wasn't mentioned by name, but he said it was defamation of his character. He ended up losing everything. He was dropped from the Fantastic Beasts franchise and was replaced. He was dropped from Disney as well. He was then labeled as a wife beater in a number of magazines. He has already lost so much, so what will happen if he loses this trial as well? First off, neither Depp or Heard are facing criminal charges in this case, nor are they facing any sort of criminal sentence such as imprisonment. Instead, Depp has asked for compensation. He wants, and I quote, "no less than $50 million and punitive damages to the maximum extent permitted by the law, and no less than $350,000. And based on how the trial is going, many think it's in Johnny's favor, as well as millions of people worldwide have come together in support of Johnny. In fact, even before the trial started, there were numerous attempts from Amber's legal team to dismiss the trial because they already knew how much evidence Johnny's team had against her. Anyways, if Amber does end up winning, a couple of things might happen. Now, like I said, a lot of people are siding with Johnny Depp. There's a lot of evidence that makes Amber look guilty. For example, when Amber Heard first came forward, TMZ published an audio from a 2009 court hearing in which Heard was arrested for allegedly assaulting her former partner, Van Rhee. Heard allegedly grabbed Van Rhee's arm and struck her while at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Amber responded being like, "I'm a woman coming forward and I'm being discredited, this is sick." Whereas others were like, "No, something's fishy, I think she's lying." So if Amber Heard does win, Johnny is still going to have support from millions of people worldwide. Who knows, maybe in a couple of years things will settle down, and if he wants to, he can get back into acting. Now let's take a look at Robert Downey Jr. for example. Between 1996 and 2001, Robert Downey Jr. was arrested on a number of occasions for drug-related charges. In 1996, he was convicted for being in possession of heroin, cocaine, and a pistol when he was pulled over for speeding. In 1999, Robert was sentenced to 3 years in prison after violating his probation. In 2001, he turned his life around when he went to rehab. And even after all of that, he went on to do Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes upon other films. In 1988, Mark was sentenced to 2 years in prison after assaulting 2 Vietnamese men. On that day, he got in a fight with the men, yelling racial slurs at them before knocking one of the men unconscious with a stick, and he punched the other. It was said that these offenses were unprovoked. After pleading guilty to both counts, he was sentenced to prison. He went on to have a successful acting career afterwards. So if Hollywood can overlook those cases and other cases with other high-profile celebrities, like there have been other actors who have literally murdered people and are still in the industry, then who's to say they can't overlook Johnny's situation? Now, Johnny has said that nothing will make him go back to working with Disney, and he won't reprise his role as Captain Jack Sparrow. But maybe if he wants to, he'll be able to do other movies. But who knows? After all this, he might just be done with acting altogether. Now, when Amber first came forward about the abuse, Johnny stayed pretty silent. Eventually, he revealed everything that Amber did to him. He said that she, or possibly one of her friends, defecated in his bed. He said that she would regularly fly into violent rages, once cutting off his fingertip when she threw a liquor bottle at him. He first revealed this in 2018 when he sued News Group newspapers after one of its titles, The Sun, referred to him as a wife beater. But he lost the case in July of 2020. The judge agreed that on multiple occasions, Depp seemed to have placed Heard in fear for her life. Anyways, he already lost that trial and his career. If he were to lose this trial, it's sad to say, but not much would really change. Like I said, he already has a tarnished reputation, and hardly any brands want to work with him anymore. So if he loses, life would just be the same as it is now. I will say, one of the biggest pieces of evidence is a recording of Heard taunting Johnny. In the recording, she says, and I quote, "You can tell people it was a fair fight. See what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp, a man I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you. Now that right there is solid evidence against her. That along with the number of lies she's been caught in, like saying she used Milani Cosmetics Conceal Perfect All-in-One Correcting Kit during her relationship with Depp to hide bruises that he caused her. And then it was revealed that that product wasn't even available until a year later. There's a lot going on that is making people question Amber's allegations. So like I said before, even if Johnny loses, those two key pieces of evidence among others will help him. Those that believe him will stay by his side. That includes family, friends, fans, brands, and production companies. What do you guys think about this trial so far? Are you streaming it? Please keep the comments a positive place, but feel free to let me know who you're rooting for.
What if Amber Heard never told a lie? So the internet is ripe right now with news surrounding the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard defamation trials. TikTok is having a field day ripping apart every testimony that either one of the actors make, and all of social media is trying to get to the bottom of what really happened here. During this trial, accusations have been thrown around a ton. Maybe the most important one, and the thing that we're going to look at in this video, is the legitimacy behind what Amber Heard is saying. Many people don't believe everything that she said up to this point and think that there are some holes in her story. But what if there weren't? What if everything that she said up until this point is 100% factual? Let's dive in and see what that would mean. Well, first we need to understand exactly how this relationship all went down and what they're even arguing about. The pair started dating back in 2012. This was after Depp had just split up with his longtime partner and Amber Heard had split up with Taysa Van Ree. Now what's kind of interesting about this is that Amber Heard at that time had a little bit of a scandal with that partner because back in 2009 she was apparently arrested for physically assaulting her partner, but that was later taken back and she was wrongfully accused. Either way, we can then fast forward to 2014 when we saw a ring. This was the first time that we saw the evidence of future marriage. Amber Heard showed up with a big engagement ring on, and after months of speculation, Johnny came out and said, "The fact that I'm wearing a chick's ring on my finger is probably a dead giveaway." So in 2014, they were engaged. Now the couple didn't actually get married though until 2015. This was a pretty private affair, and apparently they might have had 2 ceremonies for the event. It really wasn't all that public though, and the pair kept it under wraps for the most part. So now it's 2015, the couple is happily married, or at least we think they are. When do the wheels come off? Well, fast forward just a little bit over a year since they've been married to May of 2016, and Amber Heard wants a divorce. Now, while she's filing for this divorce, she's also filing for a restraining order against Johnny as well. Now, this is where we need to quote her to figure out exactly what it is that she's saying. She writes, "During the entirety of our relationship, Johnny has been verbally and physically abusive to me. I endured excessive emotional, verbal, and physical abuse from Johnny, which has included angry, hostile, humiliating, and threatening assaults to me whenever I questioned his authority or disagreed with him. I live in fear that Johnny will return to our house unannounced to terrorize me physically and emotionally." That was all written in the filing when she was looking for that restraining order. Now that is some pretty serious stuff that she's bringing up there. We are talking about excessive emotional and physical abuse from Johnny Depp. She even uses the word terrorize to describe his behavior towards her. Depp obviously came out and denied these allegations and basically took the stance that she was saying these things to gain a better financial package from the divorce. Eventually this divorce is settled and it becomes finalized in 2017. This should be all over, right? They're divorced now and the proceedings are done. It's done, right? Well, think again. In December 2018, Amber Heard publishes an op-ed in the Washington Post titled, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." In this piece, she does not name Johnny Depp once, but heavily insinuates that he did some pretty horrible things to her while they were together. Even though Johnny's name wasn't brought out, the damage to his career had been done, and getting cast in title roles as he had been in the past really wasn't going to be in the cards for him anymore. Now we are in a defamation trial. Amber Heard has accused Johnny Depp of some pretty horrible things, and Depp's career and public image has taken the hit for it. He holds strong that everything she said in regards to physical and emotional abuse are false and untrue though. So that's kind of the Coles notes as to where we are right now and why this trial is even happening in the first place. This video isn't about investigating the claims of either party though, or trying to figure out what is true or isn't true. We're not detectives on this channel, and we don't have any insider information about this case. This video and the question that we are about to answer is strictly a theoretical exercise and does not reflect our views of what's going on in the case. Because, as we just stated, we really don't know anything. But with that being said, what if everything that Amber has said up until this point is true? If all the allegations that she has said towards Johnny Depp are true, then frankly, a criminal investigation into Johnny Depp needs to be done. And if everything she has said is true, then he would be found guilty for a bunch of different illegal acts and would go to jail for it. If she never told a lie, then the current public opinion on Johnny Depp is wildly off. A lot of people still think of him as the fun and childlike Jack Sparrow, but there is nothing fun about the things he has been accused of. If everything that she said turns out to be true, then you can also bet social media is going to have a lot of work to do. Millions of TikToks, YouTube videos, Instagram posts, and different forms of content have come out and talked about how untrue everything Amber Heard is saying is. If it turns out that she's actually telling the full truth, then all of those social media posts are immediately spreading false information and need to be taken down. They're doing exactly what this trial is about, defaming Amber Heard when, in the scenario that we're looking at right now, she's telling the truth. There's also a movement on social media right now where a petition is going about. This petition is to get Amber Heard taken out of the Aquaman 2 movie. If everything she said turns out to be the truth, then taking her out of that movie really doesn't seem like the right thing to do, and this whole petition is pretty ridiculous. Ultimately, if Amber Heard is telling the full truth, then Johnny Depp needs to be held accountable for his actions. Now, obviously I will say this again, we have no idea who is telling the truth here. Without having seen all of these incidents firsthand, it is impossible to know. But please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about this whole situation.
The Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial is taking the world by storm. Millions of people are tuning in daily to watch this trial and see who wins. And it is apparent that everyone is rooting for Johnny Depp. But what if he loses the trial and is found guilty? Then what would happen? Well, that's what we'll be looking at in today's video. In March of 2019, Johnny Depp sued his ex-wife Amber Heard after her 2018 article for the Washington Post titled, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change," was released. In the piece, she refers to herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Depp wasn't mentioned by name, but he said it was defamation of his character. He ended up losing everything. He was dropped from the Fantastic Beasts franchise and replaced, and was dropped from Disney as well. He was then labeled as a wife in a number of magazines. Now, there is strong evidence in Johnny's favor. Amber has been caught in a number of lies throughout the trial. She was even caught on record admitting she did hit Johnny and then taunting him about it, telling him to tell the world that he got hit by a woman and see how many people believed him. But a lot of people wonder what happens if Johnny is found guilty of abuse and loses the trial. Well, let's take it back in time, shall we? In 2020, Johnny Depp lost a libel case against The Sun after he sued the paper for calling him a wife beater. Obviously, Johnny denied ever assaulting Amber, but The Sun argued that the article was accurate. In the end, the judge ruled in The Sun's favor and found the article to be substantially true. The judge found him guilty, stating that 12 of the 14 alleged incidents of domestic violence had occurred. The trial was heard over 16 days in July at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. He already lost that case, and with that came the downfall of his career. He was dropped by Disney and other upcoming productions, and he lost his role in Fantastic Beasts and was replaced by another actor. He was then basically blacklisted in Hollywood. No one wanted to work with Johnny for fear that it would make their company look bad. So this ruling made Johnny lose everything. At this point, if Johnny is found guilty again, it's sad to say, but not a lot would change. He would still be unhirable and his reputation would still remain tarnished. In a recent Newsweek article, attorney Jeff Lewis talked about the case and the implications that it will have on Johnny's career. He said, and I quote,
quote, "The expense is inconsequential to Depp compared to the potential to regain his movie career." He continued on saying, and I quote, "If Depp loses, he will not have to pay Heard's attorney's fees and vice versa. As such, it is relatively easy to calculate the monetary investment needed to go to trial and appeal." Lewis went on saying that the only way Johnny can go about reclaiming his career is by having his name cleared in court, so he really needs to win this. Failure to do so means he goes about the rest of his life, maybe never acting again. Also, imagine being labeled as an abuser for the rest of your life when you're not guilty. Furthermore, Johnny being found guilty might discourage other abuse survivors from coming forward, particularly men. Vice President of Public Engagement at the Canadian Women's Foundation, Andrea Gunraj, said, and I quote, "I think it's very possible that a case like this could have a discouraging effect on anybody who wants to come forward, any abuse survivor. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are rooting for Johnny Depp. They see the holes in Amber's stories and the lies she has made up. But for years, Johnny has been discredited. He said he was abused by Amber and people laughed it off, thinking that men can't be the victims of abuse as well, when in fact more than 40% of domestic violence victims are male." Moving on, if Johnny is guilty, that means that Amber's claims about him being abusive are true, or at least are perceived to be true by the judge and the jury. She claimed that a lot of the time Johnny was intoxicated or high on cocaine and would go on aggressive tangents. She also said that one time Johnny Depp sexually assaulted her with a liquor bottle, and that one time he allegedly threw a glass in her direction, then punched the wall right next to her, and this made her scared for her life. The list goes on and on. Amber has made a number of unsettling claims. I will say though that this trial has brought so many people together, in particular Johnny Depp fans and stans. They are banding together to expose Amber and support Johnny. So in the end, even if he was found guilty, he still is going to have a very loyal fan base by his side. In the end, the main takeaway is that Johnny Depp needs to win this trial in order to save his reputation. He's fighting for justice and for men everywhere. Losing this trial potentially means that Johnny's days of being on the big screen are over for good, and it will negatively impact men who also find themselves in similar situations as Johnny. They might be afraid to speak up because if a high-profile figure like Johnny Depp can't win a case of abuse, it seems like they might not be able to either.
What happens if Amber Heard lied under oath? If you clicked on this video, then I assume you're already pretty familiar with what's going on right now in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. If you clicked on this video though and you have no idea who either of those people are, and now you're trapped in this weird place where you aren't sure whether to click off or listen and try to figure out who these people are, then let me make it easy for you. Johnny Depp is obviously one of the biggest movie stars of our generation and has been in some incredible blockbusters such as Pirates of the Caribbean or Edward Scissorhands, and is often regarded as one of the better actors of the last few decades. Amber Heard, as described by Google, is an American actress and activist. She is known for her roles in the films Never Back Down, Drive Angry, The Rum Diary, and in playing Mira in Aquaman in its upcoming 2023 sequel in the DC Extended Universe. She's a spokesperson for L'Oreal Paris and a human rights activist. So these are our characters, and they are going head to head in a defamation trial right now. But your next and very fair question is, why are they doing that? Well, they're doing that because the pair were married for a time, and based on the reports from both sides, it didn't go very well. The pair got married back in 2015 and were basically only together for a bit over a year before filing for a divorce and separating. In that time, things were reportedly very toxic between the couple. During the process of filing for a divorce, Amber Heard also tried to get a restraining order on Johnny Depp because she was afraid of him. Apparently, he had been abusive to her in their relationship and she didn't feel safe. In fact, we can quote what she said during the filing of that restraining order. She wrote, "During the entirety of our relationship, Johnny has been verbally and physically abusive to me. I endured excessive emotional, verbal, and physical abuse from Johnny, which has included angry, hostile, humiliating, and threatening assaults to me whenever I questioned his authority or disagreed with him. I live in fear that Johnny will return to our house unannounced to terrorize me physically and emotionally. This is obviously some pretty serious stuff that's getting thrown around here and wasn't great for Johnny Depp's image. Work opportunities started to become fewer and further between for the actor, and public opinion of him definitely dipped. His career was going to take another turn for the worse though, because in late 2018, Amber Heard published an op-ed article called "I Spoke Up Against Sexual Violence and Faced Our Culture's Wrath. That has to change." Now, in this article, she doesn't go on to name Johnny Depp personally. She does, however, go into detail on some pretty horrible things that happened to her while she's in the relationship she's describing. It's also pretty clear to the reader that even though Depp's name doesn't get tossed in there, it's him that she's talking about. So that's sort of the background on what's been going on right now. Depp's career took a nosedive after that article, and he is suing Amber Heard for defaming him. Then she's countersuing him for like $100 million, and it's all just kind of nuts right now. This case is really a tough one for the judge and jurors though. This case, at the root of it all, is a classic he said, she said story. Who do we ultimately trust? Amber Heard or Johnny Depp? That's what it boils down to. Trust. And ultimately, that's what this question boils down to as well. Basically looking at what would happen if what Amber Heard has come out and said under oath is a lie. Now, we're going to break this down and go down the theoretical rabbit hole, but before we do, I just want to make it very clear that this is all theoretical. At this channel, we certainly don't claim to know more about this case than anybody else. We have no insider information and certainly don't want to lead any of you to think that we do. Because we have no insider information and effectively don't know anything about anything, we also don't want to pass any judgments over people as well. The court's job is to decide what is true and not true and then pass a judgment. Our job, though, is to answer weird and ridiculous questions for your enjoyment. So, let's do it. Well, first off, if Amber Heard lied under oath, then that is very illegal. This crime is known as perjury, and it is actually very serious. FindLaw writes, "To perjure yourself is to knowingly make misleading or false statements under oath, or to sign a legal document you know to be false or misleading. This crime is taken very seriously because the foundation of the legal system depends on trust and credibility. After all, just one sworn statement has the power to tip the scales of justice and dramatically alter someone's life. Perjury is considered a crime against justice since lying under oath compromises the authority of courts, grand juries, governing bodies, and public officials. Other crimes against justice include criminal contempt of court, probation violation, and tampering with evidence." So that's the crime of perjury. But what type of punishment does it hold if you're found guilty of doing it? Well, FindLaw goes on to say, state and federal penalties for perjury include fines and/or prison terms upon conviction. Federal law, for example, states that anybody found guilty of the crime will be fined or imprisoned for up to 5 years. Most state laws have similar provisions, but judges typically have discretion to use leniency where appropriate. And if you're convicted, you may even lose your livelihood. If you work in a profession where truthfulness is valued, such as the legal profession, law enforcement, and some public service jobs, you could lose your professional license. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all punishment, but it can be very serious. And if Amber Heard is proven to have lied under oath, then she could end up facing these charges. She would also most likely lose her case against Johnny Depp as well. Now, this all depends on what she lied about, but if proof comes out against her that she perjured herself during this case, then one has to imagine that all credibility is gone. I can't possibly see anyone siding with her after that, even if it was just a tiny fib that didn't really impact the outcome of the case at all. And the outcome of the case is important here as well. When do we find out that she lied in this made-up world? Is it today? Is it a year from today? Is it a decade from now? Will the case already be decided by the time this info comes out? Because that would drastically change everything. Let's say she goes on to win this suit, but then 2 years from now it comes out that she lied under oath. Would Johnny Depp sue her again and then win that case? We enter into a pretty bad gray area where I don't think anyone wants to go. If Amber Heard is lying under oath, then I feel really bad for Johnny Depp. If she's lying about the abuse, then that really isn't cool. Now once again, we don't know anything about anything. Maybe she is telling the truth. Maybe she isn't. This is why this case is so difficult to figure out. I'll be honest though guys, kinda hoping she's telling the truth about the whole poo story. The way she tells it, the dog pooed in the bed and it wasn't her. For the sake of everything that is holy, I'm kinda really hoping that it was in fact the dog and not her, cause I don't know, I think pooing in the bed is where I draw the line.
Obviously, this trial has been quite a roller coaster, and we're all quite aware that one side appears to be more in the wrong than the other. This may be due to a myriad of things like bad attorneys, weak testimonies on behalf of Amber Heard, and some pretty solid testimonies on behalf of Johnny Depp. But one thing continues to cause issues in the courtroom, and that is the behavior of the defendant, Amber Heard. Many people think that maybe she has issues beyond tendencies towards abuse and lying. Some people are starting to wonder if Amber Heard is a sociopath, and there may be some truth to that. Let's take a look into it, shall we? First, let's try and understand what sociopathic behavior entails. It's basically a mental disorder in which a person consistently shows no regard for right and wrong, and ignores the rights and feelings of others. People with antisocial personality disorder tend to antagonize, manipulate, or treat others harshly or with a callous indifference. They also tend to show no guilt or remorse for their behavior after the fact. Individuals with antisocial personality disorder often violate the law and end up becoming criminals as a result. They may lie, behave violently or impulsively, and have problems with drug and alcohol use. Because of these characteristics, people with this disorder typically can't fulfill responsibilities related to family, work, or school. Some of the symptoms of sociopathy are a disregard for right and wrong, persistent lying or deceit to exploit others, callousness, and arrogance. They also tend to use charm or wit to manipulate others for personal gain or personal pleasure. So if that description sounds like Amber Heard, then I mean it's up to you whether or not you'd want to draw a conclusion here. But even though it wouldn't be an official diagnosis, her behavior in and out of court all seem to point to perhaps this type of behavior. Now, it's important to give her the benefit of the doubt since the trial isn't complete yet, and assume that she could also just be a person who has made a number of selfish and perhaps seemingly manipulative choices while in her right mind. And although that may sound like we're letting her off the hook, remember that this assumption would give her even less credibility in the case of her alleged abusive behavior. Giving her a diagnosis of mental illness sort of moves towards justifying her actions, if anything. One bit of behavior that I've noticed could be an example of sociopathic behavior is how Amber Heard continuously glances over at the jury whenever she speaks, as if she's trying to convince them of everything she says. This behavior makes it seem like somewhere deep down, even she knows she's perhaps being untruthful and needs to constantly convince others of her false narratives. On the other hand, she could just be looking to see what the jury's thinking because she knows it will affect the outcome of this case. Another example that might suggest Amber Heard is a sociopath is her sense of superiority over others. She appears so calm and confident in court, but it seems as though this calm isn't inspired by any genuine peace of mind, but instead it seems like it's brought on by an unjustified arrogance, as if she is completely in the right without any wavering in her convictions, and completely confident regardless of what she may have done wrong in the past. For example, even when she's caught in a blatant lie, there is no sense that she feels any shame for lying, but instead exerts a sense of heightened confidence, like getting caught in a lie doesn't even affect her, or like it's somehow justified in some way, as if she believes that the jury and the other members of the court hadn't just been exposed to blatant evidence that she was being deceptive. This could be considered sociopathic because she herself seems to be convinced that she hasn't told a lie, which is the behavior of someone who is living in a totally different reality, one that they've constructed themselves. Another behavior trait of sociopathy is that those with the disorder tend to have poor or abusive relationships, which is, well, that one's pretty self-explanatory in the case of Amber Heard. On their own, someone with relationship issues shouldn't be deemed a sociopath, but paired with everything else we've discussed so far, this is a major point to acknowledge. It's also noted that sociopaths tend to have issues fulfilling work and financial obligations, and with Amber Heard failing to follow through with her intentions to donate her divorce settlement funds, this is another shocking point that really makes us wonder. So since we're not psychologists, we can't make an official diagnosis, but we can still speculate in an attempt to better understand the behavior of Amber Heard in this very, very complex trial. Whether or not Amber Heard is found guilty, there's no question that she's been exhibiting problematic behavior that might be in line with sociopathy. But for a proper diagnosis, we'd have to wait for a professional to do a proper examination. It actually might be interesting to see what a professional thinks about this. So if any of you out there are registered psychologists or psychotherapists, let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are.
After Amber Heard and Johnny Depp officially divorced from one another in 2016, Amber stood in court and pledged to give the full $7 million she received from the divorce settlement to charity. She chose Children's Hospital Los Angeles and the American Civil Liberties Union, better known as the ACLU. At this point in time, Amber was viewed as a victim of domestic harm done against her by Johnny Depp. The world considered it a selfless altruistic act to donate the full amount she got from the divorce, despite receiving so much emotional and physical distress from her relationship. But it's been uncovered today that that is the furthest from the truth. As per a 2016 CNN article, Amber released a statement as described in the restraining order and divorce settlement. Money played no role for me personally and never has, except to the extent that I could donate it to charity, and in doing so, hopefully help those less able to defend themselves. This is over and above any funds that I have given away in the past and will continue to give away in the future. In the following months, Johnny Depp paid Amber Heard her settlement in installments over 13 months. The final installment, a payment of $2.3 million, was paid on the 1st of February in 2018. 2 years after he paid Amber out, Johnny sued The Sun in the UK for libel after they published an article calling Johnny a wife beater. During this trial, Amber claimed several times, including under oath, that she had donated the entire settlement to charity. And no one really looked into it because there was a full 2 years between her receiving the last payment and the libel trial, so she had plenty of time to do so. Again, in 2018, she stated on a talk show, $7 million in total was donated. I split it between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. I wanted nothing. But now that Amber is being sued directly for defamation, she has officially admitted to not donating the full $3.5 million that she had pledged to the ACLU. This was only after a representative from the charity testified earlier in the case that while they had received some money, it fell far short of what they were promised. In fact, they had only been sent $1.3 million by Amber and on her behalf. Of that money, Amber herself only contributed $350,000 in December 2018, 10 months after she got the last of the money, and she has paid nothing since. $100,000 was paid by Johnny Depp, another $350,000 came from an investment fund, and surprisingly, $500,000 came from Vanguard, a fund set up by Elon Musk. So, of the money that was donated that is even connected to her, Amber has really only paid $350,000 of the $3.5 million she had promised to the charity. When she was questioned in court as to why Amber had not donated the full amount of money, she stated, "I fully intend to honor all of my pledges. I would love for him to stop suing me so I can." She also said, "I didn't care about the money. I was told if I didn't agree to a number, it could be overturned. We would never settle. I took far less than what they were offering and what I was entitled to." She also stated that she chose to donate to the charity because she was never interested in Johnny's money. Continuing to skirt around the actual question, she elaborated further, "I just wanted my safety and my future, and he compromised that. I wanted him to leave me alone. I've been saying that since 2016. Despite stating that she asked for far less than she was entitled to, the initial divorce proceedings saw her raise the amount she demanded from $4 million initially to $5 million, then $5.5 million, before jumping to the $7 million she was paid out. On top of that, Johnny also paid for the entire legal proceedings, meaning that Amber's divorce attorney and entire time in court was free, while Johnny paid a cool $14.25 million. She was, in turn, accused by Johnny's lawyers during the cross-examination period of going after the actor's money. Although she resolutely denied it, there isn't much evidence that would make that claim. And while the words have yet to be uttered in court, this could potentially loom very large for Amber, as it's now on record that she lied under oath about donating the full amount she received from Johnny to charity. She could at most potentially face perjury charges in the United Kingdom. One lawyer stated on the issue, "While it may not be the central issue to the case, perjury is the single biggest threat and cuts to the core of our justice system. So the police may be invited to investigate to show that any number of the public who lies to the court can be prosecuted for perjury." It's all entirely speculation at this point, however. If she does face charges of perjury, it would only occur after the defamation suit, which is not a criminal case, so she's not going to jail even if she does lose this case. But on the chance that she is pursued for perjury, that consequence means jail time because it is a criminal case. Using the excuse of Johnny's lawsuit as a main reason why she didn't donate the full amount doesn't matter. It's not considerable when you take into consideration the amount of time that passed between the divorce and her op-ed. She had plenty of time to donate the full amount. At the very least, however, even if she doesn't face criminal court for scamming a charity, she has now been on record lying to the court, and this could make the jury very suspicious of what else she hasn't been completely honest about, given how her story of what happened seems to be just as dysfunctional as her relationship with Johnny was. However, Johnny and his team still have an uphill legal battle to fight though, and only time will tell who's going to come out of this with their career intact.